Hello, I haven't found the ability to add to the previous video, so I'm recording a new one to take off from where the last one finished, which was here, the wrinkled lip and the sneer of cold command. This was the description on the face of the statue that we're calling, that Shelley calls Ozymandias, but is based on the Egyptian pharaoh Ramesses II. So if you remember from the last video, the wrinkled lip and the sneer of cold command suggest a kind of arrogant, unemotional character. Then on the next line it says, so that wrinkled lip and sneer of command tell that its sculpture well those passions read. This means, tell that its sculptor, this means that it suggests, the appearance of the statue suggests that the sculptor, the person who carved out the statue, knew very well what type of person Ozymandias was and managed to get that personality into his carvings. So that kind of suggests the sculptor didn't really like Ozymandias. Tell well those passions read which yet survive. So the appearance of arrogance, the appearance of a cold, powerful figure, that still survives on the face of the statue. So although the statue hasn't survived, the emotions, the emotional kind of perspective on the character, the presentation of what Ozymandias was like has survived through the carvings that through the carving of the face that the sculptor made. Sorry, itchy nose. Stamped on these lifeless things. So there's a contrast there. So the statue is made from stone, which is lifeless and ruined now. Yet it's suggesting that the emotions of the character, the personality of the character, still exists when you look at the face. I don't feel I've explained that very well. Basically, it's a statue, excuse me, it's made of stone, yet the face suggests the character was a cold and unemotional and power-hungry figure. The next line, the hand that mocked them. The hand that mocked them is the sculptor's hand. So this is suggesting that while he was carving the statue, that the sculptor, and the sculptor is the person that made the statue. And basically, I don't know whether you know this, but basically, you would take a huge block of stone out of a quarry, and you'd have a hammer and a chisel, and slowly you'd knock bits off the huge piece of stone until you got the face and the body of the statue that you're making. In this case, the statue of Ozymandias. So he is saying that the sculpture actually was mocking Ozymandias when he carved the figure out. The figure that he created gave the impression, like I've said several times, of a cold, powerless figure. So whereas Ozymandias would have wanted the sculptor to create an impression of an impressive, powerful figure, the sculptor has actually given away the fact that Ozymandias is an unpleasant character. And the heart that fed. The heart is Ozymandias' heart. So this is Ozymandias' desire that created the statue. So it's the sculptor's hand that made the statue, but it was Ozymandias' desire that actually paid for the statue. Right, we'll pause there for some questions. Here are your questions, please. 2 questions. As before, either email them to me or write down your answers and take a picture. So, what impression do we get of Ozymandias? What type of character was Ozymandias? What impression does the sculpture give of Ozymandias? And number 2, what does Shelley say about the sculptor? What has the... Yes, the sculptor has carved this figure of Ozymandias, but what's he done it? What's he shown by doing this? What does the sculptor think of Ozymandias? Okay, back to the poem. We're on this bit now. And on the pedestal these words appear. So you might have seen, if you've been to Trafalgar Square, all the famous figures of Nelson and the lions. Statues often have a piece of stone, a rectangular stone, that they stand on. You can call it a plinth or a stand. Here it's called a pedestal. So it's the thing that it's a solid piece of stone that the statue stands on. And here it's called a pedestal. And often on a statue, words are carved into the pedestal, the stand, explaining what the statue is. So on the pedestal, these words appear. So lying in the desert, half covered by sand, is the stand that the statue appeared, the stand that the statue stood on. And these are the words that are carved into the statue. My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. So, my name is Ozymandias. He wants his name to be known. He wants to go down in history as the most powerful ruler ever. He doesn't want to be remembered just in his lifetime, but forever. That's why it says King of Kings. That's why he's built the statue. He wants to be known as the most powerful ruler ever. And then there is this imperative. Remember, an imperative is a command or an order. So he says, look on my works. Look at what I have created. Look at this huge statue, this huge impressive statue, standing here in the middle of the desert. Nobody else could achieve this. It's my works. I have achieved this. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Now it says ye mighty, so this inscription, these words aren't meant for just travellers walking by. He is addressing here other powerful and mighty rulers, either at the time he lived or after him. He's saying, all of you who think you are powerful, look at what I have created and despair. You will never be able to create anything as impressive as what I have created. And the statue represents all that he has created, his power. And obviously you've got the exclamation there, which is intended on the statue to emphasize the fact that how powerful he is, and it's meant to emphasize the fact that all other rulers should despair, that they will never be as powerful as him. But Shelley uses it here to kind of emphasize his arrogance. On the next one it says nothing beside remains. So there is nothing else of this statue, just the legs standing up, a face half buried in the sand, and the pedestal with these words on it. That is all that is left of this statue. So there's a contrast there, isn't there, between his intention to live forever in history as the most powerful ruler and the fact that not even his statue remained. So he failed. He didn't go down in history. He's just a ruined statue somewhere in the desert. Then halfway through the line, it says, round the decay of that colossal wreck. So now Shelley is starting to describe. So far he's described the statue. Come on, cursor. Now he's describing the rest of the desert. So round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away. So there is a deliberate contrast or juxtaposition here between the ruined statue, the huge size of the ruined statue, and the enormity and the endless desert. And this is done deliberately to show that no matter how powerful the pharaoh was, Ozymandias was, no matter how powerful he was, nature will always be more powerful. You can't outlast nature. The desert is vaster and has destroyed and weathered the statue, and only nature survives. So he does that in two ways. He does that through contrasting this huge scale of the desert, the lone and level sands which stretch far away, and he contrasts this huge size of the desert with the fact that there's just the legs, the pedestal and the face left on the statue. And he does this in another way as well. He uses alliteration to describe the desert, which emphasizes the vastness of the desert. So the boundless and bare describes the desert, and the lone and level sands. That emphasise the vast scale of the desert and the permanence of nature. And that's what this poem is about. The permanence of nature contrasted with man's desire to be powerful and famous, which can never outlast nature. Okay, time for a couple, 3 more questions please, and that's it for this week on this poem. We will come back to this poem and for the next lesson, and I will explain what you need to know should this poem come up in the exam. So, can you tell me please, what are the words that are inscribed on the pedestal of the statue? Number 2. When he wrote those words, or when he had those words carved on the statue, who was he trying to speak to? Who was he trying to address? Who did he want to see and hear those words? What type of people? And number 3, can you remember the 2 techniques that Shelley uses to show the size of the desert and to make the statue seem irrelevant when compared to the huge size of the desert? Good luck. Send me the answers, as I said, either by email or take a picture of your answers. Until next time, cheery bye.